yeah, I've shifted a little bit with my company to now kind of talk about both AI and culture because it's a paradigm shift in everything that we're doing. And I sometimes refer to it as a great equalizer because we're all in the same boat. It doesn't matter what age you are. We're all learning at the same time. Some are the early adapters and love it and they're passionate about it and they're learning really quickly and early on, and others are like lagging behind. And some people are still really afraid of it. And I call that the silent resistance inside of an organization because you think you're moving forward, but then people aren't taking action. And those are people that, just don't want to do it or they don't believe in it. And if you don't have a high level of trust, it does definitely impact how you roll AI out into any organization.
Welcome to Encouraging Leaders, a podcast that exists to remind CEOs and aspiring CEOs that you do not have to lead alone. I'm Mark D. Braun, and today I'm joined by a dear friend who I've gotten to know deeply for the last 5 years through a gratitude practice. We'll get a little bit into that. Karin Volo. Karin is over across the sea. She's over in Sweden,
Yes, based in Stockholm.
based in Stockholm, the CEO and founder of Evoloshen. She spells it with her name inside of it. I'll let her give a little bit of that. But I just love what she does for the world. She has a heart for joy and building it into cultures. She has a depth in her business knowledge that allows her to skillfully guide cultures, leaders, CEOs, and really me as well in how do we do this business thing well with purpose and intention. So, Karin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. What a beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad to be here with you.
Yeah, I think we do need to start out by telling them how we got to know each other. Do you want to tell it or do you want me to?
Both tell it. I think, first of all, we reached out and connected somehow on LinkedIn. And then we're like, why don't we have a conversation? And then at the end of the conversation, you asked me a question.
Hey, do you want to share gratitude? I share gratitude with people. I'm just trying to practice it. And do you want to share gratitude back and forth?
And you called it a challenge. And I'm like, that's no challenge, Mark. Of course, I do gratitude all the time. But I hadn't written it down and I hadn't shared it with anybody.
Mm,
So we started our sharing journey. And where are we? Several years later. And
five
it's
years
had
later, yeah.
such a ripple effect, not only in my own life and with each other and our connection, because we got to know each other so well through gratitude, but I've started gratitude groups. I've brought it to leaders and CEOs. They've brought it to their teams and they brought it. Other people are starting gratitude groups. So there's a huge ripple effect from just that one little connection that you and I had.
It's so fun to get to know people through that lens of gratitude and watching your family grow up and the shifts in, where you're at. But through a lens of gratitude gets me really to be able to see your life. And so thank you so much for sharing it. I do think it's an interesting process. I know I've been practicing it for a long time, and the sharing was a new practice for me as well. And so it there's something that shifts inside whenever I get to see other people's gratitude. I think about one shift, we're going to talk about AI today because that's a shift in the world that a lot of leadership teams and leaders are thinking about. But that one shift of just being grateful and being able to practice it well, being able to be skilled at looking for things in the world to be grateful for. If we could just have that one practice, it has changed my life. It's changed so many people's lives that I've seen and witnessed. If you're listening, both Karin and I would like you to know, practice gratitude in your life. It can change your life, and it's changed ours.
100%. And it literally rewires the neural pathways in your brain, helps you sleep better at night. There's so many benefits to it and there's different levels of it. So it's just thinking about it, it's writing it down, it's sharing it with others. And then reading others helps lift you up when you're not maybe feeling like I can't think of anything to be grateful for today. And then you read someone else, it's like, oh yeah, I could be grateful for that too. So really a powerful practice.
Yeah, I think, I do want to land there for one moment. I have had times in my life where it's been really hard. And when those times are and in a day where I haven't been able to come up with one thing, I'm thinking about how lonely that is or how hard that can be, is to not be able to think of one thing in my life that I'm grateful for. And then allowing other people to share theirs and go, oh, wait, wait, okay, they're doing it. I can do this too. And they're grateful for this and I'm grateful for that too. And so it just starts to rewire the brain. Would love for everybody to be able to experience that for themselves. Before we jump in, I do ask the same question every time as we start these podcasts. When in your life, in your leadership journey, did you realize that you didn't have to do this whole thing alone?
That is such a good question, Mark. Um, I think leadership comes in waves. So you reach a plateau and you're okay there, and then you reach another plateau and you realize, okay, there. And what I've noticed with myself and many, many others is that the higher in position you go, the lonelier it can actually become. And you think, I have to do this all by myself. And honestly, probably my biggest wake up call was when I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, which we know about because we went through the gratitude with that. And I just realized I can't do this by myself. I really need people. And that's a personal example, but I realized like I don't have to do it all by myself. And I have all these people who love and care for me and are sharing gratitude and are praying for me and all of those things. And it was really life transformational. And now I have a level of deep confidence and knowing that I'm never alone. I just have to open up and be willing to, ask for help or get people involved. And I love collaboration. That's like one of my top key values is collaborating and working together and making things better. So I think that, is something that we as leaders need to keep at the forefront of the work that we do.
What I hear in that share, first of all, it's so cool to celebrate cancer free.
Yay.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And it has been such a blessing to be with you through that. I think the levels, what I hear is the levels of learning there. Like you learned it before, and then you had to relearn it, and then learn it again, and learn it at the new level of leadership, and it's never stopped. I think that's been my experience as well. Is every level of leadership requires a depth of understanding that alone isn't actually an option. Whatever alone looked like before wasn't going to get us to the next level of leadership, and so whether that's health challenges or size of companies, organizations, or technology shifts in the market that are going to change everything. It's basically always learning that we don't have to do this alone. And that if we have the right people with us, right around us, supporting us, we can get through anything. And
Yeah,
let's go.
definitely.
Well, I love that. All right. I want to shift into AI because I've been watching your posts. I know you post on culture and leadership, and you are not a technology guru and you're not a technology company. So why are you talking so much about AI?
Okay, well, actually, that is related a little bit to the whole cancer journey. So, when I finished going through treatments and all that, I had been totally disconnected from everything, focused on my health. Open AI had come out, ChatGPT had gone viral, and I had missed the boat. And I thought, what is this AI stuff everyone's talking about? So I started to look at it. Initially, I was very like, oh my gosh, are we even ready for this? I was kind of afraid of it. And then I started looking at it and started taking some classes and starting to learn about it. And I realized pretty quickly that this is going to be huge. This is going to change and touch everybody's life and change the way we work, the way we live, everything. So I, in August of 2024, dived into a full certification. And no, I'm not a technical person at all. But I realized because I've worked with culture for over a decade and developing people and supporting leaders that this was gonna be such a huge paradigm shift. I better get a good solid understanding of what it's all about and why it's so important. And so, yeah, I've shifted a little bit with my company to now kind of talk about both AI and culture because it's a paradigm shift in everything that we're doing. And I sometimes refer to it as a great equalizer because we're all in the same boat. It doesn't matter what age you are. We're all learning at the same time. Some are the early adapters and love it and they're passionate about it and they're learning really quickly and early on, and others are like lagging behind. And, some people are still really afraid of it. And I call that the silent resistance inside of an organization because you think you're moving forward, but then people aren't taking action. And those are people that, just don't want to do it or they don't believe in it. And if you don't have a high level of trust, it does definitely impact how you roll AI out into any organization. So I come at it from a people culture perspective. And to be honest, I've talked to a lot of people in the Silicon Valley area and a lot of people, in these startups of over 40,000 AI startups. And I've heard many times now, like, oh, we need that angle because, we're coming from the technical side or the engineering side, and they're just not taking things into consideration that, you would if you were having a different lens and a different angle.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, the shift there that I hear, the personal shift of going, wait, what is this thing? And then the diving in and starting to play and learn and grow, and then seeing, it sounds like becoming a believer that it is going to impact. Like that's one of the things is there's people that are non-believers that it's going to impact, and then there's people that are believers because you experienced it. You were like, oh wait, it did it to me. Like I can feel it, I can sense it, I can see the difference, what it makes in my own personal business and my life. And then you're sitting there walking with all of the depth of knowledge of culture and people and knowing that this is actually related, not unrelated to that, and that there needs to be solid wisdom there. And what's cool is I love the share that the people that are creating the companies, they see it too. They're like, "Yeah, we need the leadership lens, we need the culture lens, and it's missing right now." I think that's really similar to what I'm feeling right now. It's missing, and it needs to be stronger.
Yeah, actually, if you think of it in a triangle, so we've got AI coming and all the technology, and then we have culture inside of an organization and about people, but then the leaders. And it's really the leaders that need to kind of bring those together. So if you don't have that, it's an unstable structure. But if you have all three that are working well and strong, it's going to be a much more stable environment and a much more impactful experience for everyone involved. So I think, leadership is incredibly important right now.
Yeah, I like the thought of stabilization. It's a destabilizing technology.
It
Anything
can
that's this
be.
powerful. The thing is, the question is what's going to hold and are you ready for it? Are you prepared? Are you mentally, emotionally, spiritual, whatever the word is, are you ready? Because it is a powerful technology. Maybe not maybe if you don't like the word destabilizing, it's a powerful technology. You've come to believe that. And I don't think there's many listeners that don't have that belief yet that it's a powerful technology. I think they're struggling with what does it mean to me? What does it look like for our team to think about this? And talk to me about this word that came up from you. It's one that's not spoke about much. Silent, what did you call it?
Silent resistance.
Silent resistance. Tell me about silent resistance. What do you see?
Yeah, I've felt this for years, decades really, inside of companies, and I just never had a name for it. And it came to me, gosh, a few months ago when I was writing up an article about, AI and stuff, and I was like, ah, that's what it is. And it's basically when you're trying to do any sort of change management, any type of initiative, and it's not moving forward as quickly as you want, or it's not moving forward in the way that you want. And that's when you have people in meetings smiling and saying, "Oh, yeah, absolutely, we agree with you." And then they go off and they don't do anything. And it's because they haven't bought into it. It's because underlining all of that, there isn't that level of trust. When you have the high levels of trust, it's much easier to get things happening. And, there's a lot of research behind trust. When you have a high trust organization, it's 300 times or 300% more profitable than a not low trust organization. So you take that into bringing AI in, and it's like almost amplified, or it's AI, I see it as a spotlight or a mirror. It mirrors back to us where we are and how we interact with it. So, when there is fear, it needs to be addressed. You need to get people on board. And it starts with small steps, getting people comfortable, creating that psychological safety that we always hear so much about, and then just moving together collaboratively as a team versus, one person on the team is gung ho, early adapter, way ahead of everybody else, and then, you've got someone who's still afraid and doesn't wanna do anything, and you've got everybody in between. You gotta get everybody
Yeah.
together first, and that is a leadership issue.
Yeah. Well, it brings back to the first point, which is that this is actually leaders who create the structure and support systems, the psychological safety, actually how they introduce the topic, how they talk about it, how they look at it, how they clap for it, how they punish for it, how they promote for it, how what does it look like in their organizations? I find that so if you think about CEOs right now that you are interacting with, we're working with mainly privately held businesses, 20 million to a billion. And if you think about that space or whatever space you want to talk about, what are you seeing as the primary, like, how they're viewing it? Are they silent on it? Are they saying, "Go hard," and they're not getting people going? What are they doing in your perspective? How are they talking about it inside the organizations, or are they not?
Answer is yes. It's
Mhm,
everything in between. I mean, you've got all
mhm.
scenarios, so it's really hard to put any sort of generalization to this. And if you wanna talk generalizations, generally, a little bit older leaders, they're more slow to adapt to this. That's a generalization because it's not always that way, but I find, a little bit of the younger leaders are embracing it a bit more. But I actually just wrote an article about this recently. It's like boomers and Gen X, how we're both Gen X, so I could say this, but how we're responding to it versus millenniums and Gen Y. And for them, they're growing up in a natural state of, being exposed to technology from very young now. And so they're using it in very different ways. If you saw that survey, but it came out and something like, I don't know if it was specifically ChatGPT, but whatever, AI was like the counselor. And that was the number one use for it now for the younger generations.
Mhm.
Like, that's their therapist now, and it's
Right.
like, "Okay," but we don't wanna forget about the human connection and the human in the loop and making sure that we have that, and I think where it's gonna mirror us a little bit is that, yes, it's great to have AI. Yes, let's free up, take away the mundane tasks we don't wanna do, free up our time, and do more high-level activities, but let's never forget the people connection. Like, we need that as human beings,
Yeah.
and coming together, and that's, coming back to the workplace and working together. I mean, yes, we actually need some of that, maybe not 100%, but, mental health and well-being in a fully virtual environment is tough for most people.
Yeah, maybe not generalizations, but here's what I've seen. I've got CEOs who are, and they're all different ages, whatever it is, but they're CEOs who are promoting experimentation, and there are CEOs who are saying we can't move yet because we need safety and security first, and so they're saying don't play. And then I've got, what's interesting. I can just talk about myself. I am one of those early adopters in technology. I've always been one of them, and so when it came out, I had one of the first accounts, and I'm trying to help people get accounts and set up things, and I'm playing, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is big. And then about a year and a half ago, I built what I call my own self into it. So I tried to replace my own role. My job as a leader for 30 years has always been to how fast can I replace myself? And so I built as much of me into a custom AI developed tool as I could. And I started to play with it, and I'm like, "It's really good. It's really capable of doing a lot of what I do." And so I started showing the team and showing our coaching partners and showing CEOs, and all of them were like, "Are you scared?" And I said, "No, it's been what I've been doing all of my life. I've been replacing myself. I will do something else." I mean, I'm the one who's creating it. I don't mind it at all. I love playing with things that have the power to duplicate my effort and impact. I literally have doubled my capacity. So that's great. I love that. But what's interesting, I view myself as a high trust leader. I have a small team. They are all in. They love working with us. We share openly, and they were not playing. They were not doing the things that I was doing. And I was sitting there going, what is it that's stopping it? And guess what? The answer was me. I was the one that was stopping it. Somehow, how I was talking about it, what I was doing, I was racing ahead and they were not at the pace. And so they were feeling discouraged and they were like, I don't know what to do right now. So a month ago, we sat down as a team and we had an outside 24-year-old who came and joined the team and just said, let them play with him instead of me, and they've been now playing and I can't stop them. Like they are duplicating their own capacities and they're doubling their own productivity. And all it took was me getting out of the way and having somebody else do it instead of me. And now they're all over the place. I'm like, this is amazing. I don't know how many people are stuck, but I had silent resistance and I view myself as a high trust group, but it was there. I couldn't get it stopped until we actually changed behaviors of me and got out of the way. So that's personal testimony there.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the same that you described in the beginning of all that, from people who are early adapters, and to all of that I'm absolutely seeing as well, and I think, you just have to kinda realize where are your people right now and how can you support them in the best way possible. In your scenario, and it's probably a pretty common scenario, you bring someone from a totally different level and a different teacher so that you can't hear messages from someone you like have really close relationships to sometimes, and then you hear it from someone else and the person is like, I've been telling you that for years. And it's like, okay, but I needed to hear it from that person, and it's because it went in because it was phrased a little bit differently or whatever.
I think that's the key for me is that I'm not having to be the one teaching, not having to be the one, in my parental life as well as in the coaching world. And it's okay. I just need the team feeling good about learning and growing. I don't need to be the one that does it. That's actually such a core learning for me. And I just have to keep on learning it over and over and over again. How are you helping people navigate, learn more about, play with, get connected with solution provider? How are you speaking in now? What's your next thing to help with? How are you doing it?
So I love that you brought that up because in middle of September, we are launching a brand new AI summit. It's called Achieving the AI Advantage, and the website is achievingtheaiadvantage.com. And basically, it's a summit that is built specifically for business and AI for good. And it's for leaders who believe in this, who want to connect with other leaders who are doing these things and really kind of build a community of people coming together that have these same values. And the reason being is that, again, coming back to what I mentioned earlier, all these AIs are coming out, and it's like, we need the people aspect, we need the culture aspect, we need the strong leadership aspect because we're the ones that are bringing it into the organizations, and we need to do it in a way that's going to be supportive of the people and to be, putting people first. And I think it's so important. I just, serendipitously, this has come out after I finished my AI certification, met someone who does these types of events. And I said, well, I can bring people if you can run it. So she's doing all the back end running and I'm, bringing everybody together and hosting it. And I think it'll be incredibly powerful in terms of bringing leaders together so that they can understand, get some of the latest, tips. That's one of the things for anybody in the AI world, outside of the AI world, it's like it's a fire hose of so much information. And how do you know? And that was one of the reasons I decided to get a certification is because I want to narrow it down. Like if I need a tool, give me the top three and I'll go choose from those three instead of having to try and wade through, thousands of them trying to figure out what's a good one. So that saves a lot of time, effort, and money to do those types of things. So it's really just about learning what's working, getting insights. Lots of different industries are coming and being represented at this summit, and it's a great place for leaders to really bring those values together and know that there's a huge group of us out there that have this as a core belief that we can use business in a way that's really impactful and positive for the people, for the bottom line, for the planet. I mean, the whole thing.
Yeah. So you are gathering a group of leaders who believe that AI is powerful, but want to do it in a purpose driven way, a way that connects to their purpose in life and their people, so that it's not a people versus AI, that it's a yes and model. I think it's so critical. There's people that are putting AI in a category of, I would call it the category of evil. They're sitting there saying AI is evil. And so they're basically putting it over there and they're saying, I'm going to just concentrate on people. My concern is they're going to really, really hurt their people. So if they care so much about their people that they're going to say, don't touch it with a 10-foot pole, it is moving so fast. The impact is so big that their people will lose out on the ability to learn and grow a full new skill set. So I don't want that. I love when I hear people caring about people. And I think that doing it a yes and model is what I hear you saying is how do we use it for good and how do we use it well and skillfully so that it actually does what we want it to do, which is build solid, sustainable businesses that can satisfy all stakeholders.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, AI is a tool, but it's changing our world. So it's actually a catalyst for this paradigm shift of the workplace, of how we're going to be working and interacting. And I'll tell you, the key skills that we need, besides, having our personal interaction and connection and collaboration, we need to be agile and being
Hmm.
willing to learn new things and change and understand that it's, a very dynamic world. I don't know any CEO out there that can really say with 100% confidence that here's the 3-year plan. We know where we're going to be in 3 years. Nobody knows where we're going to be in 3 years right now. So, what do we need to do? We need to find a way to use it in a way that's going to be beneficial for everybody.
Yeah, I think it is shortening the time cycles. We've actually moved up our time cycles. We plan on a quarterly basis. And right now it's moving so fast that monthly we're having to recalibrate monthly instead of quarterly. That's just one of the things that's happening because of this. And I would like to get back into the calm, steady state, but it is moving so quickly that we have to be able to recalibrate.
And we have to understand that the power lies within us to create, to use it and to create a world that we want. I don't
Mm.
want to sit back and have the world created by default where it's all control and all of those types of things that when people say AI is evil that comes up. No, we're at a choice point right now.
Right.
And the more of us that can make a conscious, deliberate choice to create this or use it to create something that we are really proud of and that we support and that we want to leave for a legacy with our children and grandchildren and leave a good environment for everybody.
Hmm.
The more that we're all connected, the more that we have a stronger voice in how we are going to be developing as a society and as a planet.
Yeah, you do some work in the purpose area, and I think about that, like the idea that if your purpose is to go out and solve a major challenge that's the world's facing, AI can help you do that. If you don't have a purpose, if you're not clear about where you're headed, if you don't have something that you're aiming for, if you're wandering, it's going to drive some really interesting acceleration to lack of purpose. And so I'm just wondering, that's for me, that's what happens with these phones. It happens with anything that's technology based. It's an accelerator. That last night I was talking with a young leader and he was just talking through it. And it was like driving a race car. If you're unskilled and you have too much horsepower, you will wreck really hard. It will throw you into a wall so fast you don't know what you're doing. And so it's just a lot. It's very powerful. And so let's use some skill and get some guides and think about it together and build community. And so you don't have to do it alone and it can be used for good. That's what I hear you doing. And that's what I want to do. I want every leader working on.
Yeah, and if I can just share kind of pillars for creating a stable environment under the
Hmm.
culture umbrella.
Yeah.
You mentioned purpose, absolutely one of the pillars for that. Second one is trust. It's like the foundation to build a great culture. Third one is engagement. And under engagement, you have productivity. And that's where AI can really come in and make a huge difference. And then we have leaders who care. And when you have that dynamic in there, it just builds a great company culture. Your people are thriving. The company does way better. I mean, Gallup comes out with all these annual surveys of employee engagement and the difference between kind of your average company and the engagement and disengagement versus companies that really proactively and consciously work with their culture and their people to be purpose driven and have high levels of trust and develop their people. So the more we can get leaders up to those types of companies, I think the better it's gonna have as an impact into, like I said, our communities and our societies.
I want to go one step that's off of culture and it's security and safety. So I know that that's not your specialty, but what are you seeing and who is talking about that well in how to think about the security risks, which are real about AI?
That's one area I'm not seeing enough conversations, to be honest with you. I think, the whole ethics and security are, and I know there's experts out there. They're there. They're just not maybe landing on my radar either. But it's a conversation that is definitely on the table for any leader to also be having on their plate. And it's a really big plate with lots on it right now. But
Yeah.
that is definitely, looking at the ethical considerations, and then, the whole cybersecurity is a big deal as well.
Yeah. One of the things that's been helping me in it is that the solutions that you're going to need to build that are transformational for your company are going to be safe, secure. They're going to have your data inside of the wall and not outside. You're going to actually have full ownership over what happens and where. The part that I think is hard for me is if you wait to play, if that's the only place you play, which is with somebody building safe, secure systems that are locked down, you will lose the ability to get all of your people up and running on the play of what they need to learn and how they need to do it. So for me, it's learning how to safely play at level one and level two, which is basically prompt and, how do you engage with topics that are not proprietary and not security issues. You're not putting client data in there. That's not where you're going. You're interacting with it to help you do your job better. And then level 2 is where you can start to build some of those customizations in so that they're built in so that they're not having to reinvent it every time, but it's still not the safety and security levels. It's not bringing everything in, it's not tying all those systems together. And then my statement to the CEOs is when you build out those are with a third party that's very solid and they're capable of safety and security. If you have an internal team that's that solid, that's great, but those are where the major risk is. If you connect your data, a client proprietary information into the system, it needs to be done in a safe, secure way. We just can't wait till that for the only place to play. That's my statement to them. So I don't know if that helps or if that resonates or not.
Yeah, but I mean, I think, and I come back to, our dear friend Gary Rich and learning moments. It's okay to make mistakes, but as long as people know that they can test it out and experiment. And here's a key word. Like, don't use the word initiative. Say, we're going to experiment with this tool or this AI and just
Mhm.
test it out and see how it goes. Because that you get people into a state of curiosity. And the word experiment switches people from being passive to being proactive. And it makes it okay if you make a mistake. Start small and test things out. And then if you don't like it, great, you move on. Don't put out all the financial information, be like, oh my gosh, what did I do? you know?
That's not it. Yeah. You
Yeah,
can still own the roles, you can still own the quality checks, you can still own that because you're playing with
yeah,
experiments that are small.
yeah,
I love the word
exactly.
experiment. Karen, if you went back to yourself early on, now you know everything. You've got all of your current understanding of leadership, and you're stepping back and you're talking to yourself when you were a young leader. You obviously have AI and knowledge as well, but what leadership lesson would you share with yourself? What would you want that younger self to know if you go back and talk to the younger version of yourself?
Love that question, and what's coming up to mind is just trust in yourself. Trust in your own journey and your own learning, and that everything is gonna be okay, and it's all gonna work out just fine.
I
And
love
I
it.
think yeah, and I think, everything that comes up and all the challenges we face and all the ups and downs and this lovely journey we call, roller coaster of life, everything there has lessons for us, and when we can take the lessons, it enriches who we are as an individual and as a leader, and then we can take that to be even stronger, better leaders.
I love it. There's a lot of young leaders. If you're listening and you're listening about how to lead, Karen wants you to know to trust yourself and that it's going to all work out. I'm reminded of, just let those lessons be learned and don't miss them. Keep on going and learn them, but trust yourself along the way. I love that lesson. I needed it as well, and so grateful for you, Karen, for spending the time with our team and with our group here that's listening, and for you that's listening. Thank you so much for what you do to build into yourself, to pour into your leadership, to build companies and businesses that can be a force for good. If you are considering AI and how it needs to be led well, consider the summit that Karen mentioned. We'll put it in the show notes and talk to our team. We're guiding companies through that just like we guide them through anything. It's just another challenge, but it's a beautiful one. It's a big one, and it's one that you have opportunity to learn from massively. And so would love to be able to sit down with you. You can find me at encouragingleaders.com. Karen, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark, and thanks for all the great work you're doing out in the world as well.